Well, hello everybody. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Yasmina Greco with O'Reilly Media, and I will be your host for today's webcast. Today we have Stephan Spencer presenting Getting Google to Love Your Website. Stephan is a best-selling O'Reilly author, and his books include Google Power Search and his latest book, The Art of SEO, now in its second edition. We're very excited to have Stephan with us today to present this webcast for you all. I will turn the program over to Stephan in just a moment, but first I'd like to go over some housekeeping things to help you get the most out of today's webcast. You'll want to open the group chat widget if you haven't already done so. This is where we can interact with each other during the event and where you can submit your questions for Stephan. We find that our audience usually has a lot of good knowledge to share, so we encourage you all to chat freely during the event. However, if you have questions for Stephan, please preface them with a capital letter Q so we know that they're for him and we can make sure he sees them for Q&A. You can also open, move, and resize any of the other widgets. If you would like to tweet from the Twitter widget today, you may need to give it permission to access your account. It will automatically append the event's hashtag to your tweet so you don't have to. And folks, today our hashtag is Google SEO, all one word. If you should have any problems during the event, please take a look at the help widget. If you continue to have problems, please post it in the chat room and one of our staff will help you right away. For choppy audio or stalled visuals, please try refreshing your window. And remember, the best thing you can do for a good audio stream is to close any apps that could interfere. People always ask, so we'd like you to know we are recording today's webcast and we'll have an archive ready usually within 48 hours. And folks, at this time, it is my pleasure to turn the program over to Stephan for his presentation. Hello, Stephan.
Hi, thank you, Yasmina. All right, so we've got a lot of material to cover in this hour, so I'm going to go ahead and just dig right in. We're going to cover 7 steps to getting higher rankings in Google. And before we kind of go into all that, let me just quickly give you a bit of a preface on who I am so that you know that I know a few things about SEO and why I should be talking to you today. So as Yasmina mentioned, I am the author of Google Power Search and co-author of The Art of SEO. The Art of SEO is it's like 700 pages. It's quite a primer on everything from link building to internal linking structure, URL structure, all that kind of geeky details, to content writing and keyword selection, all that sort of good stuff. It's a good primer. I'm the founder of an SEO agency called Net Concepts, which actually doesn't exist anymore. I sold it in 2010 to an agency out of San Diego. I lived in New Zealand for 8 years. A little bit of trivia there about me because apparently you can do the internet from anywhere, so I decided to test it out, and lo and behold, it works. So that was amazing, and I returned to the U.S. in 2007. I'm also the inventor of a technology platform for SEO called GravityStream, or it was called GravityStream. It's now rebranded as part of Covario's suite of tools. And I'm about to launch an SEO training and coaching program at scienceofseo.com. So that's me, and here's the Art of SEO, and there's Google Power Search. Google Power Search is not an SEO book per se. It's more of a power user book about how to find anything on Google. And I actually presented a webinar not long ago, like a couple weeks ago, on the topic of finding anything on Google. So if you're interested in that topic, there's an archive of the webinar on the O'Reilly website. All right, so search engine marketing versus search engine optimization. Let me just juxtapose those two things so that you can differentiate them, because search engine marketing is an all-encompassing term that includes both SEO, search engine optimization, and pay-per-click or PPC. So when you advertise on Google AdWords and when you do things to improve the organic unpaid rankings in the Google search results, you're doing search engine marketing. Both of those activities are under the umbrella of search engine marketing. SEO is not PPC. It's not, on the other hand, it's not free either, because you do have to pay in terms of investing time, resources, tools, and so forth. So you do have to make an ongoing investment. It's not just free traffic, although it kind of is, because you're not paying Google for it. You have to pay somebody, because you have to hire a team potentially and consultants and get resources, books, training programs, etc., to stay up on the latest. SEO, by its very nature, delivers qualified leads. These are people who are searching for the products, services, industry, niche, and so forth that you're in. So that's a great way to connect with customers who have already pre-selected themselves. So that requires, though, that you do really effective keyword research and identify the right keywords that are likely to be searched on by your target market. 86% of clicks on Google are for organic search listing on organic search listings, and 14% from paid search. So the majority of the clicks are going to the unpaid organic listings, and you absolutely want to be there. So just to show you visually what that looks like, the paid listings, the AdWords listings, tend to show up on the right-hand side and optionally on the top left above the organic listings. Sometimes there are no paid listings displayed on the top left, or sometimes not on the right-hand side either. But the organic listings are what we're going to be talking about today. Organic, also known as natural listings, and unpaid listings, right? Algorithmic. Any of those are kind of synonyms for each other. I like to think of your Google organic listings as your virtual sales force. You have, let's say, a 50-page website. Therefore, you have 50 virtual salespeople that are out there in Google bringing in traffic, bringing in your target audience. And the larger your website, of course, then the more virtual salespeople you have. So a 5,000-page website is much better in terms of effectiveness for SEO than a 50-page website, because you have a lot more content, and hopefully it's good content. If it's all lousy content, then all bets are off. But if you have high-quality content, 5,000 pages will beat out 50 pages, because you can go after so many more different keyword markets, and you have so many more opportunities to go viral in social media and blogs and so forth, people blogging about you and linking to your content because you have so much more content. So content equals good, right? And also, when you do SEO to improve the quality of your website for the search engines, when you do this stuff that's going to improve your Google listings, your Google rankings, it's going to actually improve your rankings in Bing and Yahoo as well, in most cases, because what is kind of tried and true best practice in Google for SEO is also best practice for Bing and Yahoo. Bing, by the way, powers Yahoo's search results. So between Bing and Yahoo, that's not a majority of the market share, but it's certainly worth considering, because it adds up to like 30%. But the way that I figure, if you focus on improving your Google rankings, Bing and Yahoo will be the icing on the cake. It'll just happen for you because you're doing stuff that's good for the search engines in general. All right, next, how do you identify the opportunity, the opportunity cost by not doing SEO, and what the size of the opportunity is by focusing on SEO? Well, there's a little equation here I'm showing you, which takes the number of people searching for your keywords, and multiply that by the search engine's market share, multiply that by the expected click-through rate from the search results to your website, multiply that by the average conversion rate on your website, conversion rate as in how likely is it that somebody's going to convert from a visitor to a customer, and there are different conversion events, that might be important to you depending on whether you're doing e-commerce, you're selling products online, or if, let's say, you're just collecting email addresses for newsletter sign-ups or offering white paper downloads or what have you. So you have a conversion rate and you multiply all that by your average transaction amount or average order value, and then you have a number, a dollar value. And that's for one particular keyword, and you do this for all the keywords that you're targeting and then add that all together. And that's a really rough estimate of your missed opportunity cost. Now that just kind of gives you an idea what you're missing by not doing effective SEO. It's not something that you're going to probably do a whole lot else with. It's just kind of to justify the expense and focus on SEO versus other marketing opportunities. As I mentioned, Google really is the main search engine to be targeting, with 60 to 67% roughly market share depending on the study, with Yahoo at 13% and Bing at 15 point whatever percent. So that adds up to a decent amount between Yahoo and Bing, as I said. But really, if you're doing stuff to focus on Google, then the other stuff will just kind of be gravy on top. And this is an interesting point to consider. The number 2 search engine isn't Yahoo, actually. It's YouTube, because the number of search queries on YouTube is greater than on Yahoo or on Bing. So it makes it the number 2 search engine by query volume. If you're not on YouTube, if you don't have videos posted to YouTube, you're invisible on the YouTube search engine, which means you're invisible on the number 2 search engine. So don't make that mistake. All right. Now, what are searchers looking for? This is where you get inside their head and you identify what their vocabulary is, what they're typing into Google or Bing or Yahoo, and thus you want to rank for those keywords. So if you target the wrong keywords, all your efforts are going to be in vain. What are the right keywords, though? The right keywords are ones that are relevant to your business. They're popular with searchers, and we're going to see how popular different keywords are with some tools in just a moment. And optionally, we want keywords that are attainable as well, that we can rank for, because it's there's room in there for us as well. If we try to go after a super competitive keyword that there's just no way we're going to break into the top 10, that's kind of a waste. That's a wasted effort, right? So we want attainable, achievable targets here we want to go after, not just ones that are popular with searchers and relevant. Okay, so keyword research, I would break down into 2 major categories. You have keyword brainstorming, and then you have the kind of the raw, hard data analysis, getting the numbers, and that includes tools like ones provided by Google and ones provided by third-party tools providers, right? So WordTracker, Keyword Discovery are examples of third-party ones, and then Google has their AdWords keyword tool and Google Trends, which we'll look at in just a moment. But first, we'll look into keyword brainstorming, which doesn't give you hard numbers. It does give you ideas so that you can think laterally and do some brainstorming. For example, let's say that you are in the baby furniture business. You sell bassinets and cribs online, and you want to do some brainstorming, identify new keyword markets to target. You might use a tool such as Quintura or Google Suggest or Yahoo Search Assist to give you suggestions. So as you start typing in different keys, you type in your keystrokes, you get suggestions that start with those keystrokes, or in some of these tools cases, you actually get keyword suggestions that maybe it's somewhere in the middle of the word that those keys exist. So you start typing digital camera, you might get a suggestion back, in the case of Yahoo Search Assist, Canon digital camera, Nikon digital camera, even though you didn't start with the keystrokes for Nikon or Canon. The tool is smart enough to give you suggestions that are popular that have those keystrokes in them. So that's pretty cool. The even better is a tool that brings it all together for you, and we're still talking about brainstorming here, so we're not getting hard numbers yet. But this tool is one of my favorites. It's called Suval, and what it does is it pulls from a number of suggestion tools, including Google Suggest, Yahoo Search Assist, Bing, and YouTube, and Wikipedia, Amazon, Answers.com, all these different search suggestion services it pulls from in real time. As you type your keystrokes, you get these suggestions auto-populated. So check this out. I'm going to start, remember the scenario, the hypothetical scenario of a baby furniture manufacturer. I'm trying to do my brainstorming. I go to Suval.com. I start typing the word baby. Watch what happens. With the letter B, it starts to populate the suggestions from Google, Yahoo, Bing, YouTube, Answers.com, Amazon, Wikipedia, all simultaneously. I finish the word baby, and lo and behold, one of the top suggestions here on a number of these suggestion services is baby names. That makes a lot of sense, right? So baby names would be a super popular search query, and that's my target audience because these are probably expectant parents searching for baby names. They might also be searching for secondary related terms. If this is too competitive of a keyword, I'm unlikely to break into the top 10 because I don't have a super powerful website in the eyes of Google. It doesn't have a lot of authority and trust and so forth. And we'll talk about how to build that in just a little bit. But if I don't have that, maybe I need to go after some less competitive terms, a little more attainable goal, right? So maybe baby name trends or overused baby names or baby name definitions or unusual baby names. You get different secondary level terms that are not quite as competitive as baby names. So this is a great way to do pretty cool keyword brainstorming, and at the very least, this is a great interactive tool that you can show to your boss or your client and say, you know, check this out, and they'll go, ooh, ah, and you'll get lots of kudos for that. Okay, next let's go into the hard data analysis where we're getting numbers so we can see that a singular or plural or different synonym is, you know, X% more popular than the other term. So that's where tools like Google AdWords Keyword Tool and KeywordDiscovery.com come in. So this is KeywordDiscovery.com, and it's a paid tool, so you do have to pay a monthly fee for it. It gives you historical trending. You can see here a trending graph, and as you dig in and find, you can compare misspellings and different verb tenses and singulars versus plurals and all that sort of good stuff. So that is Keyword Discovery. My go-to tool, though, is the Google AdWords Keyword Tool because, of course, this is all data from Google of Google searchers. This is the behavior of Google searchers, and that's what we care most about because we care most about Google. So this tool is completely free. But what I would suggest you do is if you don't have a Google AdWords account, get one, and then log into that before you use this tool, because when you log into the tool with your AdWords account, you'll get more suggestions than you would for the tool as a non-logged-in user. And you'll also get some additional features, which are very handy, and that includes the historical trending graph. So just like Keyword Discovery, Google AdWords Keyword Tool will show you historical trending over time. You can see that, oh, the digital cameras keyword peaks during the holiday season. So November, December, it will peak and then go back down in January, February, March because everybody's searching for digital cameras to get their loved ones and so forth for Christmas and so forth. So if I log into my Google AdWords account, then I'm going to be able to access that information, that historical trending. I can't see it if I'm not logged in. And another important point is to switch to exact match mode when you are using the tool. So let me show you what that looks like. Here is a screenshot of the Google AdWords Keyword Tool. And check this out. This will blow your mind. You do this search for the keyword blog to see how many people are how many searches there are, I should say, for that keyword in Google, and it says 161 million searches. Wow, that's a lot. That seems outrageously too much. It's just like, that can't be right. And it's not. It's not even close, because in the default mode, which you can see here if you look on the left-hand side, it's in broad match mode. I don't have time to explain the difference between broad match, exact match, and phrase match. That's for another webinar. But what I will say is you have to turn that off and turn on exact match instead. So you untick the box that says broad, tick the box that says exact, and now the tool becomes useful for SEO. Before, all those numbers were wildly overinflated and crazy. Now, look at that. We're down to 2.1 million searches for the keyword blog. That's a lot more believable. So in a month, globally, I'm getting 2.1 million searches for the keyword blog. Before, what I was getting included all sorts of other keywords that have the word blog in them, like how to blog, how to start a blog, free blog, recipe blog, and you name it, right? All these different keywords that people were searching for. It includes the word blog, added up to that 100 and whatever million. It's crazy. We don't need that number. We want the number of people typing in the word blog by itself. So that's what we got here when we're in exact match mode. Be sure you do that when you use this tool. If you want to find where to get the tool, how to find it, it's very easy. Just go to Google, type in Google AdWords keyword tool. It'll be the first search result. And remember, sign in with your Google AdWords account if you want more suggestions of keywords from the tool and you want the historical trending. All right, next, Google Trends. This is another free tool from Google. It's at google.com/trends. And Google used to have this tool called Google Insights for Search. They folded in all the functionality of that tool into Google Trends. So Google Trends is a really amazing, great free tool. You can juxtapose different keywords against each other and see them all charted out on a graph. You can see here I compared digital cameras versus digital camera. And lo and behold, this might not be intuitive to you, but it turns out that the singular is twice as popular with searchers as the plural. So I am more likely to type in digital camera instead of digital cameras if I'm a Google searcher. So targeting the singular would be a good idea versus the plural, according to this tool. All right, so that's the keyword research portion. Now let's dive into the 7 steps to higher rankings. Once we've identified keywords that we want to target, we need to start weaving those keywords into our pages in effective ways. We need to build up our authority in the eyes of Google so that Google thinks that we're an important website and ranks us highly. We need to encourage click-through so people click on our search listing versus our competitor. We need to track the right metrics, et cetera, et cetera. So let's dive in to step number 1, which is getting your site fully indexed. What I mean by that, when Google goes and spiders the web and follows links and grabs the web page, downloads that web page, it stores it in its big database. That's called an index. This massive database has trillions of URLs. It's a crazy number of URLs. And many of these pages, it has the full content of the page so that it knows what keywords you've incorporated into the page copy. It knows what the title of that page was, all sorts of information like that. So we want to get our site fully indexed. In other words, we want all of our pages to be included in Google's index or database and not just half of our website or a third of our website. The page can't rank in Google if it's not in Google's database. It needs to be indexed. Okay, so the better your PageRank score, and I'll talk more about PageRank later, but it's basically Google's way of assigning an importance score to your web page. The better your PageRank, the more pages you're going to get indexed, and the deeper the Googlebot spider is going to crawl your site. So if you want more indexation, one of the things you could do is build up your authority in the eyes of Google. We'll talk about that when we get to step number 4, I think. All right, so now we want to check how many pages we currently have indexed, how many pages we have in Google's database, and that is done using a free tool from Google called Google Webmaster Tools. to get access to the tool, you're going to go to google.com/webmasters. And if you don't already have access, just follow the instructions. It's pretty simple. You need to verify that you're the site owner, one of the site owners. You have multiple site owners on the site, so your webmaster and your marketing director and your CEO and so forth can all have access to Google Webmaster Tools. And when you verify that you're a site owner of that particular site, Google will share all sorts of really cool data with you and reports about keywords people are searching for when they get to your site, the internal links that Google finds inside of your site, inbound links that point to your site that it finds, anchor text, the keywords that people use when they're creating the anchor text of a link, the underlying words of a link, all that sort of great stuff and tons more are available for free inside of Google Webmaster Tools. One of those reports is indexed pages, so you can see how much of your site is indexed, how many pages of your site. Now, an alternative to doing this, which is not as accurate, is to use a particular search query on Google called the site colon query. So you type in SITE colon, then whatever your domain name is, and that will return back pages from your site. That if you want to specifically restrict that to just pages of your www subdomain, then it would be site colon www. whatever your domain name is .com. Okay, you can also run this query on competitors and see pages of their site. Now, this isn't going to give you accurate page number estimates. They're actually wildly inaccurate. So take this with a grain of salt, but it's better than nothing. And like I said, if you don't have access to Google Webmaster Tools, this is an alternative. And this is a great way also to kind of quickly scan through pages and pages of search results of pages from your site to see what the titles look like and the snippets underneath and so forth. So it gives you a quick sense for how good your search listings are. So how does it happen that sometimes you don't get fully indexed? That Google doesn't consider your site important enough? Maybe you don't get enough links pointing to your site, or the quality of the links aren't very good. That's one scenario. Another scenario is you have a search engine unfriendly site. The structure of the site is not very good, and it repels the spiders away. Maybe you have overly complex URLs. I'm sure you've been to websites where the URL is a mile long. It has all sorts of strings of characters, numbers, and so forth in them, and it's crazy long. Google doesn't like that either. Humans don't like it. Google doesn't like it. So try to keep your URLs short and ideally keyword rich as well, but most importantly we want to avoid having a super long URL with lots and lots of parameters. If you have lots of ampersands in the URL, then you know you have lots of parameters and it's probably not the most search engine friendly URL. Okay, so that's one issue. Another is content duplication, where you have multiple URLs that respond to the same piece of content, that respond with the same piece of content. And that happens a lot of times when you have overly complex URLs, so both of those issues are interrelated. You might have cannibalization where because you have multiple URLs responding with the same content, you're diluting your PageRank, your link authority. So sometimes people link to one version, one URL, and it's the same content, and sometimes another version, and instead it would be much better if all those links added up and aggregated to one definitive URL. So that might seem a little complicated. We'll get more into that in just a minute. So yeah, don't worry if you don't fully get it. Now, what are these issues that can, more specifically, what are these issues with URLs that could get us in trouble with creating a search engine unfriendly website? The issue here is you could have a URL that has, let's say, a session ID in it or a user ID, and every time a new user comes to the site, they get a new user ID, and that is reflected in the URL. Well, that would be a really bad situation because it creates all these different URLs for the same content. that would be bad for Google because Google doesn't know what the definitive URL is. Don't worry, though, there are ways to correct the situation. Of course, one would be to remove the session ID or user ID from the URL. Another would be to use what's called the canonical tag. We'll talk about the canonical tag in just a moment, but that's just one particular issue. There could be other issues that come into play as well, such as, let's say that you're including a source code or some sort of tracking parameter that says the source of this link, this traffic coming in was my email newsletter, or it was my blog, or it was the left navigation, or it was the footer navigation, right? Source equals footer, or source equals left nav, something like that, and that's included in the URL. That's another really bad idea, for SEO at least, because what that creates is multiple URLs that lead to the same piece of content. That would be bad for Google, bad for SEO, and we don't want to do that. So these are all called canonicalization issues, and the way around canonicalization issues would be, one, clean up the URLs and get rid of all those superfluous parameters. That's one option. That's the best option in my view. Another one is to use what's called the canonical tag. Now, this is something that you may have never heard of, and you may not be into like the HTML coding of your site. You're just like an internet marketer, and you decide how to market your website on the internet. You don't get into the code and get into all that geeky stuff. Totally fine. Just write down in your notes, ask my developer about using the canonical tag. Are we using it already? And if not, why not? Because you should be using it. That helps Google to identify which version of the various URLs that it might find is the canonical or definitive version, the source version, the one that doesn't have all these superfluous parameters in it. Right? So if I provide Google with a canonical tag in my HTML code, it says, hey, here's the URL that doesn't have that user ID, that doesn't have that session ID, that doesn't have that tracking parameter, source equals email newsletter or whatever. This is the definitive URL that I want you to use, Google. That's a great and easy way to tell Google what the canonical URL is, in other words, what the definitive main URL is for a piece of content, so that it collapses all those duplicates together, and all those links that may point to different versions all get added up and point to the one canonical version. Okay, so that's a great little tip for you guys. Use the canonical tag on your site. Robots.txt. Now, I should probably mention that there's more material in this deck here than we could possibly go over in an hour. So I'm going to kind of glaze over some stuff. I just don't have enough time in this hour to go over everything in depth. But what I will provide you guys, of course, you're going to have a recording that you can listen to again. I'm also going to provide the PowerPoint deck for your reference after this presentation if you would like to go through the PowerPoint at your leisure. I'll have my assistant actually send you the PowerPoint deck. All you need to do is send me an email, or actually my assistant an email, and we'll get that off to you. I'll provide that email address at the end of the presentation so that you can get this PowerPoint deck. So if you were taking crazy copious notes thinking, oh my God, I need to capture every single bullet, I probably should have told you this earlier. Sorry. So anyways, Robots.txt, this gets pretty geeky, and frankly, it's not really going to improve your ranking, so I'm going to kind of skip over this one. I will mention, though, that you should use the sitemap directive in the Robots.txt, which means that you just provide a URL for your XML sitemaps, and then Google and Bing and so forth can find your sitemap really easily, and that's called auto-discovery of your sitemap. That's a good thing. It's not super important if you provide your XML sitemap to Google inside of Google Webmaster Tools. That works as well. You have to do the same thing to Bing within Bing Webmaster Center. So this is just a quick and easy way to provide all the search engines simultaneously with the URL of your XML sitemap. Okay? And you might ask, well, what's an XML sitemap? Glad you asked that. It's just a list of all your URLs of your site all the canonical URLs, all the ones that don't have all the tracking parameters and session IDs and so forth. And this gives Google and Bing and so forth the comprehensive list of all your pages of your site so that you can have a much greater chance of getting fully indexed. Now you might think, well, why didn't you just tell me this when you were talking about indexation before? The reason why is because this is kind of a crutch. It's not a real solution. If you don't have enough authority, Google doesn't consider your site important enough to include all your pages. That's really the core issue. You need to improve your importance in the eyes of Google, not just getting fully indexed, because your pages will still be unimportant. You're dealing with a symptom instead of the core issue of building your importance because you have lousy importance score. So XML sitemaps don't rely on that too much as a crutch for full indexation. Fix the underlying issues like having tracking parameters in your URLs or session IDs in your URLs, and use the XML sitemap as an additional thing, not as the main fix. And also there are different types of sitemaps besides just your main sitemap that lists all your URLs of your site. There's a video sitemap if you have videos. There's mobile sitemap if you have a mobile version of your site. There's news sitemap if you're in Google News. So that's XML sitemaps. Step number 2 is to get your pages visible. Now that we've gotten our site into Google's index, all of our pages are in its big database, now we want to get these pages to rank. And the ways that we do that would be I'd break this into 2 major categories. One is on-page factors or signals, and the other is off-page factors or signals. Google engineers like to use the term signals. It sounds really geeky, just like they like to use the word canonical, which is a really geeky term you've probably never heard before unless you're in SEO. But off-page versus on-page, let me differentiate these two for you. On-page, this includes anything that is in the HTML of the web page that influences the rankings. Okay, these are signals, these are factors that get considered by Google in their ranking algorithm. If you change the page title on your page, that's in the HTML code, that will affect your rankings. If you add additional copy to the page, right, additional paragraph of copy, that goes in the HTML and that will affect your page. That's on page. Okay? Off page would be things that affect the rankings of the page and they're not in the HTML at all. They're somewhere else on the web. There's some other factor influencing your page's ranking. And it may not even be from your website. It might be somebody else's website affecting your ranking. Those are off-page factors. Let's say that you get a link from CNN. Wow, that's awesome, and that should definitely improve your rankings in the eyes of Google, and it does, and improves your importance in the eyes of Google, and thus your rankings. That's an off-page factor or an off-page signal. Another example would be the anchor text that is used in a link to your page. Let's say CNN uses a link that says click here. Well, Google takes those words click here into consideration and associates those words with your web page. So it starts to think that your page is all about click here. It's not ideal, right? If instead it was a keyword-rich phrase that was relevant to your business and to the page that's being linked to, that's way better, right? So that's anchor text. So that's an off-page signal. Of the various on-page and off-page signals, and there are hundreds of them that influence your rankings, the title tag is the most important on-page signal, and thus you really want to pay attention to that, put important keywords that are relevant to that page into the title tag. Also, you want to reinforce that with the keywords that you've used that are the primary keywords that you're targeting for the page, not only in the title tag, but also in the body copy as well of the page. And higher up in the page is better than low in the bottom of the page. And so this is called keyword prominence. if you have two pages, both of them are exactly equal, and one of them has your important keyword, let's say blue widget or whatever. Right? So blue widget is mentioned in the first paragraph on one version. Everything else is the same on the other version, except blue widget is mentioned instead at the very bottom in the last paragraph. Oh my gosh, forgot to tell you, this whole page was about blue widget. Which one's going to rank better in Google for blue widget? Obviously the one that has higher keyword prominence, the one that mentions it in the first paragraph instead of the last one. That's keyword prominence. That's more important than what's called keyword density. Keyword density is it's kind of a red herring. It's not something I track regularly. It's more for finding edge cases where, oh, I forgot to include the keyword altogether and I have 0% keyword density. Oops. Or I have such a massive percentage of keyword density because I've overstuffed that keyword throughout the page, and it's blue widget here, blue widget there, blue widget, blue widget, blue widget. Don't you love blue widget? We want some blue widget. And that's a horrible page. That looks like spam in the eyes of Google, and you're going to get penalized for that or banned. So don't keyword stuff. We'll talk more about what are some things that can get you in trouble later on in this webinar. So keyword prominence important, keyword density not really. Whether you have 2.3% keyword density or 3.5% keyword density, not relevant. Doesn't matter. Incorporate your keywords that you're targeting for that page into not only the title tag, into the body copy, but also into the heading or headline tag, the H1. Also, it should be ideally in the meta description, although the meta description is not going to improve your rankings. So why care? Why bother with the meta description? Because it influences the snippet that's displayed, and that will improve your click-through rate from the search results. There is another meta tag called the meta keywords tag. This one also does not improve your rankings, and in fact, this is a complete and utter waste of time and always has been in terms of Google. Google never counted it as a positive ranking signal. So if you ever wasted your time with meta keywords for improving your Google rankings, oopsie, that was a waste of time. So meta tags, not a magic bullet. In fact, they're not going to improve your rankings at all. Meta descriptions are worth doing only for the purpose of improving your snippet that's displayed in your search listing, get more clicks, right? It's not going to improve your rankings. All right, moving on. And I'm going to skip over some of this stuff because, frankly, we don't have enough time. So there are some more tips on getting better with your title tags. Now, here's a little trick that I like to use. You just when you're looking at a page and you want to see how much of it is text versus how much of it is imagery, here's a screenshot of the REI homepage, and I'm curious as to whether all this text on the graphic, sale and clearance stuff, and what's directly underneath that, and I don't know what that color is, the tan color, if that is text, and the red bar below that, is that text or is that all graphic? And thus, if it's graphic, Google can't really see it. Yes, you can use what's known as an alt attribute, but that's not as good as if it were text. It will be counted more heavily by Google if it's text. Quick trick here is just to hit Control A if you're on a PC or Command A on a Mac. And what does that do? It highlights everything on the page. It's just a shortcut for Select All, and you can see what it looks like now, that indeed all that text inside and that's over the graphic that talks about sale and clearance is part of the graphic because it's highlighted all together as part of the graphic, whereas text that is on the right-hand side in the red, that red section is actually text. You can see it's highlighted differently from the super clearance text that's on the left-hand side of that red, right? And so what that means is what's part of the graphic as we can see here, the sale and clearance, the super clearance, blah, blah, blah. That's invisible to the search engines, whereas the text on the on the right-hand side is visible to the spiders. It is visible to Google. All right, so I talked about meta tags already. We'll skip over that. And this is getting pretty geeky. This talks about JavaScript and Ajax and Flash and so forth. Unfortunately, we don't have time to go into that either. Now we're on to step 3, building links in PageRank, getting more links to your website and thus higher rankings because you're considered to be more important. Google has a name for this, this importance score that it assigns to your web pages. It's called PageRank, named after Larry Page, co-founder of Google. It's not web page, it's Larry Page, right? And what PageRank refers to is it's a weighted form of link popularity. So it's not just the raw number of links that point to your site. Yes, links are like votes, but it's not a democracy, it's a meritocracy. In other words, a link from CNN is going to be worth a heck of a lot more than a link from Jim Bob's personal homepage. So we want important links, we want important sites to link to us, important, authoritative, trustworthy websites linking to us, because that's going to be worth more to our PageRank score than unimportant, untrusted sites linking to us. And every page has a PageRank score, not just our home page. It's not a site-wide PageRank. Each page has a PageRank. There is kind of a site-wide PageRank, but when I talk about PageRank, it's page-specific. So your home page has a PageRank score. Your About Us page has a PageRank score. XYZ product page has a PageRank score. Your privacy policy page has a PageRank score, et cetera, et cetera. You can see what PageRank scores are being assigned to your pages using Google's Toolbar. Unfortunately, these are not the PageRank scores that Google uses in its ranking algorithm. So you might have to say, well, why do I even care then? Well, it's better than nothing, I suppose, but I wouldn't waste a lot of time tracking your PageRank scores according to the Google Toolbar server, because, again, these are not scores that Google uses in its ranking algorithm. It gives you a rough estimation of PageRank, but it's not. You're actually better off using a third-party tool like SEO Maz's Open Site Explorer or linkresearchtools.com, which have their own authority metrics, which are not the ones that Google uses, but it's a more precise number, and I like it. So I think you should use these tools. Open Site Explorer has their MozRank score, MozTrust score, which is a version of TrustRank. MozRank is their version or their approximation of PageRank, and they have another score called Page Authority score. All these scores are on a logarithmic scale. PageRank is on a logarithmic scale as well, which means that when you look at something like this, a PageRank of 5 is not middle of the road, halfway between 0 and 10. It's actually quite low on the spectrum, and a PageRank 8, on the other hand, is massively huge. A better way to see this is this graph here, which if you see the little inset on that mountain, that's pretty much still Basecamp, right? And all the scores 0 to 7 are contained right in that little inset at Basecamp. And a PageRank of 5 is like a little anthill portion of that huge mountain. So you might say, well, I've got a PageRank 5 out of 10 according to Google. I'm so proud. Just bear this in mind when you pat yourself on the back. You might want to work a little bit harder to improve your PageRank. And the way to do that is to build your authority, get better, higher quality links from more important sites. This is the Google Toolbar, and how do we get higher quality links? Develop great content, that's a given, but how do we get it out there? We need to seed it into social media, and not just from our own account on Facebook and Twitter and so forth, because we probably don't have much street cred. We don't have a huge fan base or followers. We don't have the kind of credibility that a power user would have. So better off to make friends with power users influencers on these social sites and get them to push your content into Facebook, Twitter, StumbleUpon, Reddit, Pinterest, and so forth. If you're not blogging, you definitely should be blogging and creating link bait, which is just another way to say link-worthy content, stuff that people would link to because it's so good. And these could take the form of infographics or personality tests, quizzes, plugins, downloadable checklists and worksheets, top 10 lists, how-to articles, all sorts of different things like that, viral videos, comics, et cetera, So skipping ahead here. Here's a couple of quick examples of viral content. This one here is this is a tool called Gazoogle, and it's pretty funny. What it does is it turns a web page that you give it the URL, it turns it into JiveSpeak. There's another similar tool called the Dialectizer that turns it into, you can either choose Swedish Chef or Pig Latin or redneck speak. I know this is all very politically incorrect, but this is a very effective viral campaign, and the tool just got linked to all over the web, and so think outside the box, basically. It doesn't even have to be something that is relevant to your business, because you're targeting the linkerati, the influencers, not your customers. Your customers don't have a lot of link authority. They don't have lots of page rank. It's the linkerati who do, right? So that's what you want to. That's who you want to go after when you're creating this viral content. Here's another example. This is mentosintern.com, and the candy manufacturer Perfetti Van Melde, who makes Mentos, came up with this crazy idea, which actually was very effective. They paid an intern to come and work for them over the summer and just sit in front of a webcam all summer long. And you could assign him some work. Let's say you wanted him to do some research, fill out a spreadsheet or whatever. You can give that to him. You can chat with him. He's just sitting in front of his webcam, chatting with people all day long and doing work for them. So that was pretty fun. And then this is Counterfeit Commission. This is all about avoiding getting ripped off by buying inadvertently a counterfeit Mini Cooper. So yes, that is a counterfeit Mini. That is not actually a real Mini Cooper. If it has duct tape for stripes, if it has beer cans taped on instead of the exhaust pipes in the back, you know it is a counterfeit. Obviously, this is a spoof site, and guess who was behind it? Yes, Mini was behind it. So that was pretty cool. And those are just a couple of off-the-wall examples. You just need to think outside the box and get creative, and the world's your oyster, right? So moving on to step 4, leveraging your PageRank. And the way I mean by what I mean by that is when you get links to your website, most of the links are pointing to your home page typically. So it's up to you to spread that PageRank around across all your other pages. And so your internal linking structure is the way that you do this. By having a link to, let's say, your most popular product on your home page, that's a really effective way to pass PageRank on from your home page to your product page. If instead your most popular product is 5 clicks deep down your site tree, you had to click 5 clicks to get finally to your product page, that page is not going to have a lot of link authority, not a lot of PageRank, and thus it's not going to rank well in Google. So really think strategically about your navigation structure, breadcrumb navigation, footer nav, all that sort of stuff when you are building your site or when you're redesigning it so that you have effective linking structure and are passing PageRank or link authority around in the most effective strategic fashion. And we talked about duplicate content earlier, so I'm going to skip over that. Step 5, encourage click-through. What I mean here is you want people to click on your listings from the search results, and compelling search listings are what you want to have then. This is just a heat map of an eye tracking study showing that people don't really bother reading the full search listing once they're down a couple of search listings deep into the search results. They kind of just scan straight down, so they might not see your call to action or value proposition for free shipping that's at the end of the title tag, and it's way over on the right-hand side, and they didn't see it because you're search result number 6. Okay, so just bear that in mind. And also, here's a great screenshot showing how uncompelling the Microsoft listing is out of these, the 3 very popular email service providers for email, webmail providers. You got Google with Gmail, Yahoo Mail, and Microsoft with Hotmail or Live Search or whatever, Live whatever. I don't even know what they call it. But basically, that was a big fail on their part. If you see the search listing just says sign in and there's no snippet underneath it. At least it didn't say what it used to say, of sign in access error. That sounds even scarier, and like I don't want to click on that search listing. So have compelling search listings. Step number 6, track the right metrics. That means you want to track your indexation numbers like we talked about. Track how many links you have pointing to your site, PageRank scores, and Moz Rank and Moz Trust, all that sort of stuff. Track your rankings using a tool like Authority Labs. Keyword popularity using the keyword research tools that we talked about, Google AdWords keyword tool. Of course, you're going to use your analytics package, whatever, Google Analytics or Omniture, whatever it is that you use. And we want to also go beyond those basic metrics and track some other things. Now, I don't have time to go into what these metrics mean, like page yield and keyword yield and index to crawl ratio, but I will point you to an article I wrote on practicalyecommerce.com. It's that last bullet here that gives you a full article explaining all these different metrics. And then finally, step number 7, follow best practices, which is just a culmination of all of what we've been talking about this whole hour, of creating link-worthy content. Don't stuff keywords, overstuff keywords and have too much repetition. Create stuff that's useful and interesting and not just created for the search engines. This is all common sense, right? So we don't want to play games with the search engines and try to outwit them, because you're not going to win. Ultimately, even if you have a short-term benefit from it, it's not sustainable. So play by the rules, play by Google's guidelines. Don't try to shortcut shortcut things and do things that you would be embarrassed to tell a Google engineer that you're doing. All right, so and that is the 7 steps to higher rankings. So basically what we're going to do now, and we only have a few minutes for questions, sorry, but there's just too much content to fit into 1 hour. As I mentioned, I'm providing the PowerPoint as a reference document, and the way to get that is to email my assistant. It's that last bullet here. It's admin@stephanspencer.com to get a copy of this slide deck and also an SEO best and worst practices checklist. So, shoot an email off to my assistant for that stuff. If you want to follow me on Twitter, my Twitter handle is @Spencer. And if you want to contact me directly, my own personal email address is Stephan@stephanspencer.com. So this may have been a bit overwhelming for you. Just take a deep breath and realize you don't have to do all of this tomorrow. Just pick 3 things, 3 small things that you can do tomorrow or next week, and just get them done. So see some positive movement in your search results, and then just continue to improve and iterate from there. So remember, you only eat an elephant 1 bite at a time, not all at once. All right, so with that, let's take a few questions.
Great presentation, Stephan. We really do appreciate it. We do have just a couple questions that have come in. So folks, as you heard, we are at Q&A. We don't have much time left, so if you do have a question for Stephan, please open your group chat widget, type it in, send it in so he can answer it while he's with us. All right, we have a question from Liam. Liam asks, How do I judge if a directory is authoritative in Google's eyes before I start using it for building my link structure?
Oh, what a great question. I'm not a big fan of submitting to directories as a way to build your link authority. That is one of the lowest value techniques that I can think of. In fact, I just wouldn't even waste my time doing it. What I would do instead is, as I described, build really link-worthy content and build relationships with bloggers, be a blogger yourself, comment on other people's blogs, have insightful, interesting things to say, go to blogger conferences and make friends with bloggers. So getting links from bloggers, it's much more effective if you're a blogger yourself, because bloggers link to other bloggers more than they link to faceless corporate entities, right? So that would be an effective approach. Guest blogging on other people's blogs, especially once you have rapport and relationships with these bloggers. That's a great way to get links. Directories, not so much. A directory that's built really to target webmasters and get you to pay money is the worst kind of directory, and that will be a complete and utter waste of time. Directories that are really useful for humans, and there's a small number of them, but out of the number of directories out there, it's going to be like finding a needle in a haystack. So again, better use of your time to work on link baiting and on rapport building, relationship building with bloggers.
Great. And one more question here from Bob, and it's about kind of the same topic there about blogs. Bob asks, are blogs really worth it today? Does Google actually still index the content?
Oh, absolutely. Google indexes the content of blogs. And also, if you think about what is how much of the web are blogs, it's a pretty sizable percentage. Google has a whole search engine dedicated to blogs. I mean, they consider blogs to be very important. Google Blog Search, right, is a blog search engine. And if you get a link from a high-profile, high-authority blog, like, for example, my daughter recently posted to a really great blog post on ProBlogger.net. The ProBlogger.net homepage has a page authority score, according to Open Site Explorer, of 90 out of 100. That's on a logarithmic scale. That's just mind-blowing. So your post might end up, if you're a guest blogger for ProBlogger, it might only end up on the homepage for a very short period of time until like tomorrow, and it's replaced with all fresh new articles. But the site is a very authoritative site, and that's a blog. So definitely it's worth doing, worth focusing on.
Wow, exactly. I completely agree with you, Stephan, and thanks for sharing that. Looks like we have a couple more questions here. Tom would like to know, can you provide a process to determine if a site is penalized, to what extent?
So there are two types of penalties in Google. One is an algorithmic, and the other is a manual penalty. A manual penalty is one that can be turned off by a human review process, and you would submit to the Google Webmaster Central team a reconsideration request. And the way that you would do that is go through Google Webmaster Tools. That's assuming you've cleaned up all the stuff that you've done that was dodgy and got you in trouble in the first place. And then you have to kind of do a mea culpa and say, okay, these are the things I did, and I'm really sorry. We fired a rogue SEO or whatever, and here's what we did to clean it up. And hopefully they will undo the penalty. That's if it's a manual penalty. If a penalty that's algorithmic, however, Google Webmaster Central engineers don't even have visibility into whether you're being penalized algorithmically or not. They can only see the manual penalties. So with an algorithmic penalty, you just need to back off of the over-aggressive optimization that you've done if you've done too much keyword stuffing or you've gotten too many dodgy links that are really low-quality links, maybe too many directory links. And there's a new tool from Google Webmaster Tools, inside of Google Webmaster Tools, called the Disavow Links tool. And you can specify if you bought links, which is a bad practice. You don't want to do that against Google's guidelines. You list all those purchased links that you bought and all the dodgy links that you've built from like really crummy directories and so forth that you don't want Google to count anymore, and that should hopefully lift your algorithmic penalty. So, it's like two very different kinds of penalty situations, and one can be corrected by a Google employee and one cannot. So just bear that in mind.
Perfect. And with that, that is all the time we have for questions today, folks. So we're going to say a very big thank you to Stephan for presenting an outstanding webcast for us all, for sharing all his knowledge and expertise. We do have comments, Stephan, in the group chat. People are asking, when are you coming back? When are you doing another one? So, folks, we will touch base with him and let you all know. We'd also like to let you know we did push out a code for you all to save you some money today as a thank you for attending the webcast. You can get Stephan's book, The Art of SEO, 2nd edition, for a good price today. And, boy, if you like what you heard today, that book has so much more information in it, lots of good tips to help you with your day-to-day. Again, thank you, Stephan. Thank you, everyone. This will conclude our webcast. Goodbye, everybody.